In this part of our lecture on television, we'll consider regulatory challenges facing TV and cable, how technology and convergence changed viewing habits, the economics of TV, cable, and streaming video, and the role of television in a democratic society. Though cable cut into broadcast TV's viewership, both types of programming came under scrutiny from the U.S. government. The late 1950s to the end of 1970s is known as the network era, where CBS, NBC, and ABC dominated primetime programming. Other than PBS and a few independent stations, there wasn't a lot of competition for TV viewers. By the late 1960s, the FCC viewed the three networks as a quasi-monopoly, passing a series of regulations to undercut their powers. The Primetime Access Rule, which took effect with the 1971-72 TV season, reduced network control of primetime programming from 4 to 3 hours. The FCC hoped the extra hour would result in more locally produced news and public affairs programming. Instead, local channels acquired non-local syndicated programming, like Wheel of Fortune or Entertainment Tonight, to fill the time. The law was eventually repealed in 1996. Around the same time, the FCC also created the Financial Interest and Syndication Rules, called FinCEN, which banned the networks from running their own syndication companies and thus reduced their ability to reap profits from syndicating old TV series. A network TV show is typically syndicated after it reaches 100 episodes, at which point the reruns can air on any local station that buys it, regardless of their network affiliation. With the rise of cable and home video in the 1990s, the FCC gradually phased out FinCEN, arguing that by then, the TV market had grown more competitive. Beginning in 1995, the networks were once again allowed to syndicate and profit from rerun programs, but only those they had produced in-house. Cable TV faced its own set of regulatory challenges. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, the FCC blocked cable companies from bringing distant TV stations into cities and towns that had local channels. The National Association of Broadcasters lobbied hard to restrict cable's growth so as not to interfere with broadcast station interests and local TV ad sales. By the early 1970s, however, cable had the capacity for more channels and better reception, and the potential to grow beyond small, isolated communities. In 1972, new FCC rules allowed cable to start expanding, while still protecting broadcasters. The FCC set up must-carry rules, in which cable operators were required to carry all local TV broadcasts on their systems. This ensured that local network affiliates, independent stations, those not carrying network programs, and public television channels would benefit from cable's clearer reception. The FCC also mandated cable systems provide access channels in the country's top 100 markets, requiring cable systems to provide free, non-broadcast channels for local citizens to use. These are often called PEG channels, which stands for the public, educational, and government content programmed on them. Because the Communications Act of 1934 had not anticipated cable, it wasn't clear how the industry should be regulated. Cable operators argued they should be considered electronic publishers, a communication business that has a First Amendment right to choose what channels or content to carry. FCC and consumer groups, on the other hand, maintained cable systems were common carriers, such as a phone company or a taxi service, that is required by law to offer service on a first-come, first-served basis to whoever can pay the rate. Such companies do not get involved in content. In the 1979 Midwest video case, the U.S. Supreme Court defined cable companies as electronic publishers with the ability to dictate their own content. With cable's regulatory future secured, competition to obtain franchises to supply local cable services increased. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 eliminated ownership restrictions from radio and television and brought cable fully under federal oversight, treating the industry like broadcasting. Congress also used the Telecommunications Act to knock down regulatory barriers. By allowing regional phone companies, long-distance carriers, and cable companies to enter one another's markets, lawmakers hoped to spur competition and lower rates for consumers. Instead, cable and phone companies have merged operations in many markets, keeping prices at a premium. In fact, broadcast networks are now bundled together with cable networks under large corporate ownership. And it was the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that laid the legal groundwork necessary for all these mergers to happen. Thanks to new technologies in the digital turn, Americans can watch all the visual content they want, whenever and wherever they want. The introduction of the video cassette recorder, or VCR, in the mid-1970s changed television viewing. First, it enabled time shifting. Viewers could tape record TV programs and play them back at any time. It changed my life, as I was able to record Days of Our Lives to watch when I got home from school. Beginning in 1999, the digital video recorder, or DVR, began to replace the VCR, as shows were recorded on hard drives or DVDs instead of VHS tapes. This way, if you were an episode or two behind on your show, you wouldn't need to fast forward back to the spot on the VHS tape, so it would be ready to record the next episode. The struggle was real. The internet further transformed viewing habits, converging with other technologies as high-speed connections and Wi-Fi became more common. Many new TV sets are internet-ready out of the box, which enables users to watch streaming content not just on their laptop, but on whatever device has the biggest screen and the best sound. On the flip side, viewers can take their TV viewing with them on smartphones and tablets. Some content is directly available from a show's website or uploaded to YouTube. Other programs are sold for a small fee or shown as part of a streaming subscription. Like premium cable channels, streaming services have started producing their own programming, like Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale and Netflix's Stranger Things. Ready availability of an entire series has also led to a new viewing habit called binge watching, which is watching multiple episodes of the same show in a single sitting. Now it's time to look at the economics of television, cable, and streaming video. To understand the TV economy today, we need to examine the production, distribution, and syndication of programming, the rating systems that sets advertising rates, and the ownership structure that controls programming and delivers content to our homes. TV production costs are divided into two tiers, below the line and above the line. Below the line costs are the hardware side of production, including the equipment, special effects, cameras and crew, sets and designers, carpenters, electricians, art directors, wardrobe, lighting, and transportation. These account for about 40% of a new program's production budget. Above the line, or software costs, are the creative talent, actors, writers, producers, editors, and directors. These costs are typically about 60% of a program's budget, except in cases of successful long-running series, where salary demands by actors can drive the costs up to more than 90%. TV programs are funded through deficit financing, a process in which a TV production company leases its program to a network for a license fee that is actually less than the cost of production. The goal is to recoup this loss later in rerun syndication. Programs get from production studios to viewers in a variety of ways, each with its own financial agreement. Cable service providers like Comcast or Charter and satellite services mostly rely on customer subscriptions to cover the cost of distributing channels. The cable providers also pay a retransmission fee to broadcast networks for the rights to carry network channels and programming. Networks, meanwhile, pay affiliate stations license fees to carry their programs. In exchange, networks retain the bulk of advertising slots in a program that they can sell to then recoup their fees. Local stations get access to popular programming, along with some local ad time to sell to generate their own revenue. Streaming services, however, use different models. Netflix, for example, earns money through monthly subscription fees, while YouTube's video streaming contains ads. To distribute programming, services either own their own content or negotiate licensing deals to show a movie or TV program, or a mixture of both. Syndication is leasing TV stations or cable networks the exclusive right to air TV shows and is a critical component of the distribution process. Each year, thousands of executives gather at the National Association of Television Programming Executives convention to acquire the exclusive local market rights to game shows, talk shows, and evergreens, those popular old network reruns. Networks may make cash deals or barter with the station to exchange programming for a split of advertising revenue. For local network-affiliated stations, syndicated programming is used to fill fringe time, the time slot either immediately before the evening's primetime schedule or immediately following the local evening news or the network's late-night talk shows. Cable channels air syndicated shows at a variety of times, including during primetime. Syndicated shows are also beneficial to streaming services. The Los Angeles Times reports the two most watched shows on Netflix in 2018 were The Office and Friends, with ABC's long-running medical drama Grey's Anatomy and CW's sci-fi thriller Supernatural, also in the top 10. There are two types of syndication. The first is off-network syndication. These are older programs with long runs on network primetime, now made available as reruns, like The Golden Girls and Modern Family. The second is called first-run syndication, which refers to any program specifically produced for sale into syndication markets, like Jeopardy, Judge Judy, and Dr. Phil. That's why you'll find these shows on one network affiliate in your local market, but they may be on another channel in a different city or state. TV networks and cable channels set ad rates based on how many people watch a given show. Since 1950, the Nielsen Corporation has tracked and rated primetime viewing, estimating what viewers are watching in the nation's major markets. Rating services like Nielsen provide advertisers, broadcast networks, local stations, and cable channels with considerable details about viewers, from race and gender to age, occupation, and educational background. In TV measurement, a rating is a statistical estimate expressed as the percentage of households that are tuned to a program in the market being sampled. Another audience measure is the share, a statistical estimate of the percentage of homes that are tuned to a specific program, but expressed as a percentage of households that are actually using their sets at the time of the sample. For example, a TV market of 1 million people may have a show watched by 100,000, but their share would be much higher if only 500,000 TV sets were watching anything during that time frame. Programs rely on good ratings to survive. If not enough people are watching a series, the network or cable channel won't be able to sell enough advertising to recoup costs and may need to cancel it. Other shows may have lower ratings but stay on the air because they're popular with demographics attractive to advertisers. To account for the rise of DVRs, Nielsen now offers 3 versions of its ratings: live plus 24 hours, counting how many DVR users played a show within a day of recording, and live plus 7 days, adding in how many viewers played the shows within a week. This slide shows the average cost for a 30-second commercial during primetime programs on Monday and Thursday nights in 2018. Based on this data, you can assume shows like The Neighborhood and Happy Together on CBS Monday nights have much lower ratings than the network's Thursday programs, The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon. And you would be right. Of the top 100 shows of the 2018-2019 season among adults 18 to 49, The Big Bang Theory was TV's 7th highest rated show and number 1 comedy, with its spin-off Young Sheldon rated number 11 overall. The Neighborhood ties for 45th, while Happy Together doesn't even crack the top 100. And if you've never heard of Happy Together, that might be because it was canceled after its first season. Only 12 of the top 100 rated shows of 2018-2019 are from basic or premium cable. But keep in mind, cable targets smaller audiences, so programs with lower ratings are more likely to survive because their revenue comes primarily from subscription fees rather than advertising. Despite their declining reach, the broadcast networks have remained attractive business investments. In 1985, General Electric, which once helped start RCA-NBC, bought back NBC. In 1995, Disney procured ABC for $19 billion. In 1999, Viacom acquired CBS for $37 billion, but split off from the company in 2005. In 2013, Comcast completed its purchase of NBC Universal from GE, a deal valued at $30 billion. More recently, Disney bought 21st Century Fox in 2019. To combat audience erosion in the 1990s, the major networks began acquiring or developing cable channels to recapture viewers. Thus, what appears to be competition between TV and cable is sometimes an illusion. NBC, for example, operates MSNBC, CNBC, and Bravo. Disney's ABC owns ESPN and its many spin-offs, along with portions of Lifetime, A&E, and the History Channel. And Disney now owns some Fox cable channels like FX and National Geographic. Since the 1990s, thousands of cable systems have been purchased by large multi-system operators, corporations like Comcast and Charter that own many cable systems. Today, cable systems are lumped in with streaming services under the umbrella name video subscription services. Netflix is at the top of that food chain, with 57.4 million subscribers in 2018. The development of cable, home video, DVRs, the internet, and smartphones has fragmented television's audience by appealing to viewers' individual and special needs. And by providing more specialized and individual choices, these changes have altered television's former role as a national unifying cultural force, potentially de-emphasizing the idea that we're all citizens who share the culture of a larger nation and world. Moreover, as cable and streaming services like Netflix are creating an increasing amount of quality original programming, the definition of what we call TV is expanding. Ultimately, TV's future will be about serving smaller audiences. It remains to be seen how this converged TV landscape may change how audiences watch and pay for television.